everybody, my name is Gerry, I'm from Wild Eye, and this is episode 1 of Share the Experience. So, a lot of you might recall that I did a wildlife photography Q&A video series which ended mid-2016. The idea has always for me been to carry on and to kind of dig deeper because I believe there's a lot of value in creating a platform like this for us to discuss, to ask questions, to answer questions, to debate, whatever the case might be around wildlife photography. And what I've recently done is I've started a podcast, the Wildlife Photography Podcast. It's a very clever name. And that offers a certain avenue in which I can discuss and talk and try and help and add value to your photography. However, we sat down at Wild Eye here and we have such a wide and diverse range of services that we offer and experiences that we share with our clients that we thought, let's put something like this together. We'll try and get it out once a week, if not, depending on travel, sometimes twice a week, and just add as much value and have fun with wildlife photography. A lot of people take it way too seriously, so this is a way for us to get back and enjoy what we do. So the episodes are going to come out, and each episode will consist of 4 parts. First part will be photography. In that, we're going to discuss techniques, gear, comparisons, whatever the case might be, photography specific. Second part is wildlife. Now, in there, we're going to use video clips, we're going to use images, and we're going to discuss everything from animal behavior, predicting in shots, but specifically around wildlife, focusing on the subject. Number 3, Lightroom. So the third part of each video will be Lightroom based, and in that I'm going to do short tutorials, nothing dramatic. The Lightroom videos will still be a standalone, but small tutorials, kind of bite-sized chunks of information, if you will, that you can then use and go from there. And then the fourth part is going to remain Q&A. So whichever platforms you follow us on, I'm going to specifically go down the road of asking for questions on Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter because those are the easiest ones to do so. We will still be answering your questions in the Q&A section. 1 per video though. So I've got one for today, but if you have those questions, keep them coming in a very similar fashion as we did with the wildlife photography Q&A series, which I thought was great fun. Anyway, this is another way we're trying to bring value to you guys. So along with the podcast, I'm very excited to be able to dig into all of those platforms and let's see where we can take it. So thank you for watching. This is episode 1. Let's get right into it. So, for the first photography segment, I thought let's look at telephoto lenses and how they're not all created equal. I think a lot of people struggle with the idea that if I have a 400 and Gerry has a 400, they might necessarily not be the same. Here's the deal. That is a 100 to 400 Canon lens, right? From the front, from the side. When I zoom out, that's 100. That is now. So, from 100 to 400. So that equals a 400 millimeter lens. Now, wait for this. This is also a 400 millimeter lens, right? So that, look at the size there. So now, what's the deal? Why have different ones? Here's the thing. If you get what's called a prime lens, this lens, this big guy, cannot zoom at all. You're stuck at 400. That's the deal. However, this has an aperture of 2.8. You need to know what this means. It's important. This one over here, the 100-400, is 4.5 to 5.6. Now, what that means, the F number refers to the aperture in the front of the lens, how big that hole can open when you take a picture, and how much light can come in. So, if I have a 4 lens or a 4.5 lens, it might be able to open this much. A 2.8 lens, because it works as fractions, opens much bigger, which means it lets more light in. Now, there's a couple of benefits to having something like this. For example, when it gets dark and all the good stuff happens in the evening, this will let in a lot more light than that. You see the difference? Yeah? A lot more light comes in. The catch is, though, this can't zoom, this can. So, as a new wildlife photographer, what often happens is people immediately think, holy shit, it's a big lens, I've got to go with that, it's amazing. However, you don't have much options here from pulling back and moving forward. Remember, this one can do that. You zoom in and out. So here, if your subject approach closer, you're zoomed at 400, you can zoom back. So that helps. It's important to understand this, guys, is if you go into the field, you need to know what you're going to shoot with. A lot of newcomers, beginners, struggle with this thing because they don't understand it's a creative crutch. I think it's a good thing. Spoke about that in the podcast yesterday. But it's a good thing because it makes you think out the box, but it's difficult because it makes you think out the box. A lot of people struggle with that. So this is always 100, 400, or for example, an 80 to 400 for Nikon is always a good place to start. Now, you must understand as well, the size difference does bring it with it a price as well. This, lots of money. This, still lots of money, but not as much. This is a much more palatable lens for beginners, even though this is more sexy. People like the big lenses because you know how it goes. You have such a big lens, you must take amazing images. It doesn't work that way. So from a lens point of view, remember, if someone says they're shooting with a 400mm lens, know that there are differences. There are 400 f4s, there are 400 2.8s. This is a 400 with a variable aperture. You need to know what those things mean. Now, because this is the first episode, I'm not going to go into too much detail, and this is the case for all of the platforms we're on. If you have questions, send me those questions, and I will try and build them into future episodes as we go deeper and deeper. By the time we get to episode 100, we're going to be looking at a lot of cool stuff. So remember, not every telephoto lens is equal. In the same way as that, not every photo safari is equal. Not every photo safari guide is equal, but those are things we'll talk about in future as well. If you have questions, my details are at the end of this video. For now, that's part 1, segment 1 on photography. Next up, wildlife. It's important to understand animal behavior. Whether it's the S that the giraffe makes when he comes up, a lion yawning, elephants dusting. Everything can be predicted if you understand the repetition that happens. You need a big depth of field. Focus on the head and give me like an f8, 9, even up to 10, 11. Shutter speed still has to be way up. Focus point in between the eyes, wait for him to move, same thing as earlier on. Go. How's that? Beautiful, hey?
All over the ground.
Beautiful, huh?
Yay.
This is hard shooting, guys. High risk, high reward. You pull this off, absolute magic. Right guys, so as you know, Lightroom's strength is not only in the developing or the processing of your images, but also in the cataloging and how you manage those files. Now, I've done videos on this in the past, and on the left side of the module you have cataloging, which is all your images inside this catalog. I've got 100,000. Under folders is the home base where my raw files live, and then collections is however you decide to put your images together. I've got, for example, all my Botswana images, all my Chobe River images and so on grouped together. Now, if I go into folders and, for example, I go into my 2016 shoots, trips. So this is all the trips that I hosted during 2016. In each one of those directories, I have the images, the raw files shot during that trip. Now, if I'm looking for a particular image, if I click on Wildlife 2016, it shows me all of the images underneath as well. As I scroll through here now, you'll see some of them have been marked with red. Those are the ones that I'm using on my website. So, an interesting one just for you to kind of go and play with, and as you start documenting and cataloging a bit more. At the top of the screen, inside your library module, you've got these 4 icons, yeah? None means there is no filter being applied and all the images in here is being shown to you. If I click on attributes, I can then select, for example, just red, and it'll show me only the red labeled images inside there. Makes sense? So these are the images that are on my website that have been processed, that are ready to go. Now, here's the interesting thing. If I go back to none, it shows me all the images unfiltered. Did you know that you can go into metadata and you can now look, if you're looking for a specific date, so I catalog using my dates here, which works for me, but I can go at the top, let me just make a bit of space here, and I can say, right, inside of May, those are the days that I shot within May. If I click there, it only shows me images shot on that day. If I go to August, I can say, ooh, lots of shooting during August. On the 12th Friday, those are the images I shot. I can then go back all dates. I can catalog and ask Lightroom to show me images shot with specific cameras. If I'm looking for all the images shot with the D810 or the 1DX2, I can go according to focal length. So it's interesting sometimes to play with and go and see 200mm for me. Obviously you can see big focal length choice. I can then say, right, show me all the 200mm images taken with a 200mm lens, and also that are red that I'm using. So all the red images shot with a 200, and there they are. I can say all the red images shot with a 300, and there they are, and so on and so forth. You can then also, let me remove attributes from here, so I'm now only filtering according to the metadata. If I go back and I say show me all the focal lengths, at the top there, I can go according to aperture. Show me the apertures that you use more often, and it might be an interesting exercise for you to check and see which ones you shoot most often. It's something interesting. You can then, if you want more info, you can click next to these and you can select to categorize and search on basically anything. You can say what lenses. So there are all the lens choices I've shot throughout the year, and I can see which ones I've used most. It's nothing that's going to change the way you process your images, but it's interesting information should you be looking for a specific image, or you want to go spend some time and learn more about, retrospectively, how you shoot. Give it a try, let me know how it goes. Emil, first off, thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoy what we do, because we enjoy it as well. So, I think I covered this in the Q&A a couple of times in the past, but I have a little bit of a problem, maybe it's a little bit old school maybe. I have a bit of a problem with going to maximum frame rate, just rattling off and choosing images afterwards. Now, that said, there are a lot of situations in and around wildlife where you would have to do that. It's, for example, migration, birds in flight. You never ever, unless you get very lucky, going to look at a bird in flight and just go click and have the shot. Doesn't work, right? So what I tend to do, so your question, I mean, there's always, and I know I speak for a lot of the guys in the office as well, there's at all times, there's some kind of awareness of the type of images you want to get. Compare it to driving. When you started driving, you have to manage everything, yeah? And you think, holy hell, I'm never going to get this. I've got to push the pedal in, then release the clutch, while at the same time, every 8 seconds look in this mirror, every 15 seconds in this mirror, then there's an indicator, and then the wiper goes on. It's chaos. Now you do it without thinking. Wildlife photography is exactly the same, and the more time you spend in the field, the easier those decisions become. That is why, and I truly believe this, there's a lot of value in traveling with myself and one of my guides, because the guys have spent, I'm trying to think who's probably one of our least experienced, is still experienced in the majority of others, is about 8 years in the bush. Now, having spent 8 years, the guys will be able to look at a situation and talk you through it. I wrote a blog many years ago about the photographic voice in your head. So for me, when I'm in the field looking through my viewfinder, this little voice is talking all the time. There's, what if he's going? Is he going to yawn? What's your aperture? And so on and so forth. The more you do it, the more you train that photographic voice, the better, I think, the voice talks to you, but also importantly, the better the voice listens. There always needs to be an awareness. There's always peaks in movement, and then it goes down. Like in the section we did on with a giraffe. Knowing that's going to happen makes it easier. If you were there for the first time, you wouldn't know. Unless you watch it a couple of times and you're very smart, you might pick it up. But every single situation in nature, in Africa, that we do, you can almost predict. Look, things go wrong, and it's nature, and anything can happen. But there is a certain amount of, what's the word I'm looking for? An educated guess happening. So the more time you spend doing it, the better. My problem I have, and this is reality, take it as you will, if you rattle off, if you just go grrr, and the leopard walks and you go grrr, and you just fire the hell out of this thing, and then you go and choose the images afterwards, quite honestly, you're a shitty photographer. Yeah? Because you are not picking the moments. If you shoot short burst, as you go, and you pick moments that surround the peak in the moments, if you understand what I mean, then you got, number one, less images to go through, but I believe your hit rate will be better because you're focusing on individual moments. Then there's the thing of having to go into Lightroom and, holy hell, look through 4,500 images from a day's worth of shooting. I almost guarantee you're going to miss some shots because you're going to get so tired looking through them that you're not going to find the right one. If you shoot short bursts, your attention span is on these 3, then those 4, then those 4. So Me personally, I'm always aware. When I'm on the field, when I'm looking at animals and I'm looking through the viewfinder, I'm always aware of what's happening in the sighting and kind of when those peaks in the action happen. And that's when you fire those short bursts. And again, spend time in the field. It is the only way to get better at it. It's like anything. Practice makes perfect. Unless, sorry, I'm going to divert for a moment. I mentioned on my Snapchat a couple of days ago where practice makes perfect makes sense unless you're not doing the right thing and you're practicing the wrong thing, because then you're perfecting that. Different thought, and I'll discuss that more on my Snapchat as well. Anyway, so thank you for the questions. Keep them coming, and I will choose one per episode. That's it, guys. So you see what we're trying to do here. I'm trying to give you a wide range of content, from photography through wildlife, through processing, and Q&A, where you have a platform to ask your questions. I would have loved to have that when I started out. So thank you for watching, really appreciate it, and thank you for joining along. I will keep on posting on all my platforms while I travel. So Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Periscope, all of those things, some cool stuff going on. So go and check it out. Phenomenal. Just look for my name on those platforms. You'll find it. The idea long term is going to be to do, like I said, 1 or 2 a week. So this is now on Friday. This is Friday. I'm going to now try and get the next one out probably about 3 weeks from now, because I'm going to be in Kenya for 2 weeks. Hence, follow me on my platforms. There's some cool stuff coming up. Have you seen the Snapchat spectacles? Phenomenal. Watch this space. So follow me along, and then from March, I'm going to try and do this weekly, if not bi-weekly. Also, link it up to the podcast, guys. I'm loving that platform. Really, really cool. And as far as I know, one of the very few, if not only, humble brag, wildlife photography podcasts out there. Got a lot of cool stuff lined up. Interview with all the guys. There's going to be debates and so on and so forth. Lovely, lovely platform. Anyway, thank you once again for joining. Nice being back. I love doing these things, and I love hearing from you. So let me know what you think, your questions and comments. Thank you so much for following. My name is Gerry. I'm from Wild Eye. I'll catch you guys next time.